We are all forming cancers in our body all the time. You've got cancer. I've got cancer. What is going on? Why are we seeing common and also uncommon cancers being diagnosed at earlier ages? We almost view aging inevitably as synonymous with synchronous decline. And I don't think that's what the research is showing us. I've seen people go from stage 3, stage 4 cancer and wind clock back and set themselves back to 0 stage cancer. Something I would have thought I would never see in my career is where the end of cancer is coming from. It's here. When you go home, you can eat foods that can help to boost your immune system, including people who are on chemotherapy. If they have the bacteria in their gut, they're likely to respond positively to immunotherapy, their own immune system. Wipe out the cancer, you're missing that bacteria. You might not respond, that's not an option. That becomes now a life or death kind of state. It is now possible in clinical trial only, but it's now possible to take a cancer that you might have been diagnosed with, someone may have been diagnosed with, remove it, standard send it to a lab, along with a tube of normal blood with normal blood cells. Send that to the lab. Use technology to sequence the human genome of the cancer. That's 20 to 30,000 genes of the cancer, and sequence the genes of the normal cells. Same person, double the sequencing. Okay, 20,000 times 20,000 as even a very smart person could not actually figure out, do the comparisons too much, too many numbers. So you get machine learning AI to help go back and forth, compare the cancer mutations with the normal mutations. All right, and subtract out those mutations that are also found in normal cells. You'll be left with the mutations only in the cancer. This could be done in a few weeks. All right, and now you've got the smoking guns of only the cancer mutations. Wow. And by sequencing the cancer, now there's no secrets that cancer is hiding. You've lifted up the stone. There's no secrets underneath it anymore. You got everything. Now you ever seen the Minority Report with Tom Cruise? All right. You know that scene where they actually have the glass panel and they can put on gloves and move things around on the glass screen? That was one of the scenes in the movie. I thought I always remembered that's really cool. Well, you can metaphorically do that with the mutations on the tumor. Pick 20, 25 random mutations, move them up in the screen, connect them. All right, so I think about it as creating a pearl necklace. Each pearl being a mutation. All right, pick from a different part of the tumor. Connect the pearls together like the string of a pearl necklace. You cinch it together, and now again, this is metaphorically. It's a lot more complicated than that. You hit print, and now you actually print out the protein of the mutations. That protein you can inject under your skin, and now you are vaccinating yourself against your own cancer. Wow. How personal, how doesn't get more personal than that? Doesn't get more sophisticated than that. That is the kind of direction that the future of cancer therapy is coming from with immuno-oncology. It is not a replacement for anything else, but it is the kind of research that I'm involved with that is jaw-dropping and that is so promising. I encourage people, by the way, if you want to see, so the question is, does this work? All right. And you know I'm not here to talk about anecdotes. I'm talking about things that change my mind when I see somebody who was in stage 4 brain cancer who actually has now got no disease with this treatment, saying, what is going on? Why are we seeing common and also uncommon cancers? Starting at earlier, being diagnosed at earlier ages. Cancer is a disease that we all fear, have always feared. Even doctors fear cancer, and doctors get cancer just like everyone else. All right. Only we see the devastation. We see the sadness, the terrible effects and side effects that are associated with treatment and the progression of the disease itself. And we've all been touched by cancer. You know, I've had cancer in my family, Dubai, my mother, my uncles. I mean, you know you don't have to look very far to find somebody who has been touched by this dreaded illness. But I want to actually give a different perspective that most people won't know, which is that we are all forming cancers in our body all the time. You've got cancer, I've got cancer, and we all been having cancers from the time we were little. Okay, let me explain that to you. Our body is made of 40 trillion cells. Each of the cells have to divide and copy themselves. And that's why we are still here today compared to yesterday. And that's why we're still going to be here tomorrow compared today. Copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. That's how we actually make our way through life, by our having our cells, 40 trillion healthy cells copying themselves now. Copying ourselves through our DNA, as you have to copy the DNA too. The genetic instructions is a pretty big job, and if you don't copy perfectly, the cells don't copy perfectly, you wind up having a mutation, and cancers form from mutations. I'm going to come back to why. I'm saying that we all have cancer, just you and I sitting right here, right now. And this is how it works. If you actually think about 40 trillion cells copying themselves perfectly, I can tell you it doesn't happen. Our body makes mistakes every single day. Each of those mistakes is a mutation, and each of those mutations set up to be a potential microscopic cancer. Can't see it, don't know about it, like a pimple on your back. You know, somebody might point it out to you, but it'll never hurt you, and most of them will go away by themselves. For cancer, it's your immune system cruising by, wiping them out, okay? What are one of our most powerful health defenses? But let me tell you this, and how easy it is to make a common mistake copying and pasting. If I gave to you a sentence, Mary had a little lamb, all right, and I asked you to type it on a word processor, on a Word document, all right, 10 times, you'll get it perfectly. Julian, if I ask you to do it 100 times, you're going to make some mistakes. Fortunately, there's something called spell check that will let you fix it. All right? And that's what our body has. W says, a spell checker that will actually fix DNA mutations. All right? So a few mutations, few mistakes in copying DNA, not a problem. So we can actually neutralize the ability for our cells turning into cancer at some point. But if I asked you to copy Mary had a little limb 40 trillion times, I guarantee you, even a spell checker won't be able to keep up with it. All right? And each of those mutations that aren't fixed winds up becoming a microscopic cancer. So we form these little ditzel cancels, harmless cancers in our body all the time. And fortunately, most of them will never become a disease. All right? This is from childhood onwards. No. It won't become a disease. Won't become a problem because our health defenses, our body's immune system, actually wings by like cops on a beat. Policemen driving through a quiet suburban area, they see a little microscopic cancer, shouldn't be there, throw them in the back of the truck, drive them off, and get rid of them. That's really how our body takes care of cancer normally. And the reason I'm bringing this up in the context of your question about these earlier onset cancers is that we don't know, is it that our defenses are going down, our immune system weakening, our gut microbiome, our gut health is changing, and thereby our inflammation levels are rising. So these little tiny diddles that would normally not become a problem start to become a problem, and at an earlier age. We don't know that, but it's a really good question to ask. What's going on? That our shields seem to be going down and our cancers are going up. Now, is it also possible that we're being exposed more and more to harmful toxic substances in our environment, like microplastics is a big topic that we are just beginning to recognize the magnitude of the magnitude. Problem besides not buying food packed in a plastic bag, okay, or Mike, row-waving food in a plastic container, which I don't recommend anybody doing because of the the shedding of the microplastics. Do you know where most of the microplastics that get into our body come from? These inflammatory little particles that actually is studying our blood vessels. We know it's in our brain. It gets into every organ from your testicles to your penis, to your lungs, to your brain. Cars driving on the road, yeah, shed these aerosolized microplastic particles. And we inhale them, yeah, and they get into our body, and it stands to reason that they're probably causing a problem. If you find a cancer early, you stand a much better chance of getting rid of it and achieving a cure. We want the word cure and cancer, the two chords, to actually go together, right? And this is kind of a paradigm shift that we haven't been able to do until recently. We began realizing that, we should be able to do early interception of cancers. We can do late interception of cancers to be able to get long-term remissions, which I would actually call cure. You're talking about somebody who's had cancer, very advanced. That's been completely eliminated by boosting the person's own immune system to wipe it out. It's like taking a cloth on a dry erase board and just erase the cancer completely. It's gone. 10 years later, it's still gone. I would cow that a cure, all right. Now what I'm saying is that the small ones, we don't need to throw tons of imaging, tons of equipment. No, you would never imagine treating it like chemotherapy for a tiny, small, early detected cancer. But I do think that you can remove something that's small. Why not? Okay. Then send it off, take a look at it to see how dangerous it is. I don't believe in burying the head in the sand. If you got something you found that's abnormal, go for it. And yes, the individual might actually be scared and want to know what's going on, but that's why you need this sort of new crop, this new generation of physicians that are being trained through medical school that will be understanding that the body has this incredible defense systems to be able to heal itself, whether it's the immune system, whether it's the microbiome, whether it's the vascular system, whether it's the vascular system. These are things that, by the way, I was not taught in the same way when I went to medical school. But now the science is remaking the map, the roadmap of how the body can take care of itself. And I think that as we go into the future, even if we're diagnosing cancers earlier, we can now give people pragmatic advice. Even as medical professionals, surely we think the medical professionals should master this, that will allow them to chapsually boost their own health defenses. Is eating a plant-based diet healthy? Yes. It's every single research study has shown that if you eat lots of plants, it's good for you. Are there nuances to that? Can you eat too many plants? What about the pesticides? What about GMO? Okay, we can dive down into those weeds. But in general, eating plant-based foods is healthy. Does that mean that eating meat is unhealthy, categorically? Well, I don't like to get into those kinds of black and white categorical thinking. And this is where the debate on food and health and diet starts to really become like an octagon where you're getting, where people are trying to get into the ring and fight each other to their death. Listen, I think the preponderance of evidence shows that eating some meat is okay. Actually, so too the vegans. I respect moral-based, ethical-based eating. UK chose not to eat an animal. That's fine. But honestly, the meat is good. And by the way, meat is a great source of protein for obvious reasons, but also other micronutrients that you can't get that easily from plants. Creatine and for immunotherapy, like for pick up inhibitors, you want to.